Hello, all of you vaingloriously wonderful people. The Awakening update for Astroneer is here, so let's take a look at what's new, what's changed, and talk about first impressions of this update. I am going to try to keep things spoiler-free, though I will get into a few spoilers near the end. Don't worry, I will give you plenty of warning before moving into those. And I will also use chapter markers in the video and put a big uppercase spoiler tag in all chapters that contain any spoiler type stuff. And I am going to limit footage from my gameplay of the update to just the earliest of the new missions as well, to try to avoid spoilers there. Let's kick things off by looking to some items in the patch notes. First up, there are a few new mission chains, with each one sending you to various planets to complete various tasks. If you have played through the past several updates, then this will feel familiar. All in, it took me about 2 hours to get through all of the missions, and for the most part, it was a fairly pleasant way to spend my time. New lore for Astroneer is revealed as you make your way through the missions, though it does once again arrive solely through reading mission logs, control panels, and tooltips. And completing all of the new missions will unlock a new object, a new suit, and a new hat. We'll talk more about all of this in the spoiler section later. One of the new objects you'll encounter will be the Fault Finder. Once you have completed all the new mission chains, you will be able to craft these on the small printer from 1 scrap and 1 Astroneer. You will also be able to trade them for some items previously unobtainable through the trade platform, along with a couple of other items that, up until now, were quite rare in Astroneer. Again, we'll talk about what those items are in the spoiler section in a minute. The printer control panel has been updated with category-based navigation. Items are grouped together in separate rows based on their grouping in the item catalog. Additionally, notifications appear near the top of your screen to identify the various biomes of each planet and to confirm your destination when traveling to a new planet. And if you need help remembering which biome you're currently in, you can open the compass and the current location should be redisplayed at the top. For fans of the multicolored fireworks that have not been available in the game for quite some time, you will now be able to spawn them in creative mode, along with the beach ball variant of the recreational sphere. The fireworks were only available the first summer after the game launched, and if I recall, that is when the beach ball first appeared as well. The beach ball has reappeared a couple of times as rewards for continuing to send shipments via the extra request platform after completing the limited time event, but I haven't seen them in a while, so it's nice to have access to these. Of course, there are new items available in the Exo Outfitter store waiting for you to trade in your hard-earned dollars for qubits to purchase them. You can check those out for yourself in Exo Outfitters. But there are also some exclusive cosmetics that will be unlocked during the month of February to celebrate 4 years since the launch of Astroneer in version 1.0. So be sure to log into the game next month to claim those cosmetics. There are also a massive number of bug fixes in this update as well. You can visit the patch notes and read them all for yourself. I've left a link in the description down below. And I suspect that there are also a few other things included in this update that were not mentioned in the patch notes, but I have to do a bit more investigation before talking about those. So let's move on to the spoilers. For those of you who do not want any spoilers, then skip ahead to the second first impressions chapter down below. The one that does not contain the word spoiler. Seriously, big, huge, juicy spoilers are inbound. I'm going to give you just a few more seconds to run away to the safe chapters before I begin talking about them. In fact, I'm not even going to show Astroneer gameplay for a minute. Instead, here is a picture of my cat. Her name is Lexi. She is almost 2 years old. And yeah, she is absolutely adorable. And she knows it. She also knows I am going to start talking about spoilers when her picture goes away, and that you should really skip ahead if you don't want those spoilers. Seriously, go. Now, okay, here we go, spoiler territory. So yeah, our suspicions about the nature of what has been going on the entire time in Astroneer have been confirmed. The fact that our Astroneers seem to be reprinted each time they die has always led some people to believe that we were in fact just part of a simulation. And yep, turns out we are. This has all been a part of a training simulation from Exodynamics. You can read all about it, along with some nice references to the community, and another heart-touching tribute to Systemera co-founder Paul as you work your way through the missions. As far as the new items you can obtain through the trade platform using fault finders, there are numerous composite resources that you typically create in the chemistry lab, along with the beach ball variant of the recreational sphere, and all of the various colors of fireworks. And of course, there are rewards for completing all the missions. I've already mentioned the fault finder, but you also unlock the Chronos suit and the Little Prince hat cosmetics. So let's talk about my first impressions, starting with one of the spoiler things, and that is how we obtain multicolored fireworks. But let me start by saying I am very grateful that we do, at long last, have the ability to obtain these fireworks. Players have been practically begging for these for a long time, so I am very glad there is a way to get them once again. But while the standard firework isn't exactly the simplest thing to create, you can at least craft it. For the life of me, I cannot understand why the different colored fireworks are tied to the trade platform. If I want them, I have to go make a fault finder, go find all the stuff for the fault finder, then trade for them? Really? Sure, you get 8 of them per trade, but if you plan on putting together a nice fireworks display, you're going to be spending a lot of time messing about with fault finders. I know, I'm not a game developer, so I have no idea what it takes to bring a new object into the printer. But I would have preferred being able to simply craft these fireworks. Maybe do something that would color them beyond the default. Explosive powder gives us the default red, but maybe an explosive powder into resin could give us yellow. Explosive powder into silicone could give us green, so on and so forth. But the system for trading for them just feels clunky. And for me, at least, it doesn't really match up with the expectation I had for being able to use them to do some really cool stuff without resorting to just spamming them in creative mode. So moving on from spoiler-related topics, let's talk about other first impressions. As I mentioned earlier, it took me about 2 hours to complete the missions brought to us with the Awakening update. And it was, for the most part, an enjoyable 2 hours. But as much as I love to learn more about the why of Astroneer, I have been rather disappointed with how it has been presented. Once again, we're just reading stuff. Stuff on control panels, stuff in mission logs, stuff in tooltips. And, well, that's fine, I suppose, if I had chosen to spend my time reading a book instead of playing a video game. I find this format for presenting lore to be about as appealing as those YouTube videos that feature no voiceover and instead just write things out on screen expecting you to read it all. When it comes to a game, I want the story to be something that I experience, something that surrounds me in the world the game presents, something that I am a part of. I don't want it to be something that feels like I'm reading a history book from the future. I think it's probably too late for lore to be presented in any other fashion with an Astroneer, but I hope Systemera can make storytelling and lore something more integrated into the gameplay itself in their future games. Moving on, the printers have needed an overhaul for a very long time, but this isn't it. Sure, you don't have to scroll through every single item on the printer any longer, but the dots representing the groupings on the left of the new control panel are, well, kind of useless. Unless you have memorized the order of the groupings, you are still stuck scrolling through until you find the right category. What I find incredibly perplexing about this new UI design for the printers is each grouping has an icon that appears in the top right of the control panel. Why wasn't this icon just added on the left instead of the smaller dots? That would make it much easier to visually locate the category you want and head right to it instead of just scrolling down until you find something. The text of the control panel seems to have no issues with scaling to fit on the screen, and a lot of times there is just a lot of empty space displayed on the control panel. So yeah, Systemera, this is a step in the right direction, but I really hope you are not finished with the printers. Putting the icons for each category over to the left to replace those little dots would go a long way to making this a truly useful change. I don't want to just offer criticism though. While performance optimizations weren't explicitly mentioned in the patch notes, the game ran better. And this isn't just a subjective opinion. My CPU and GPU usage were lower and my frame rate higher. Shuttles no longer jerk about during spaceflight, and I did not go crashing to a single planet. In fact, I tried to force the game to do weird stuff in a shuttle by knocking one over and taking off while it was laying on its side. But even that flight was flawless. And I am always grateful to see bug fixes, both big and small. They may not be the bugs that annoy me the most, but each and every bug that gets fixed not only shows Systemera's dedication to making Astroneer the best it can be, but it also hopefully means that we're that much closer to the bugs that do annoy me getting fixed. The new location tooltips are nice as well. Since some of the missions will be directing you to specific biomes, it is nice to be able to know what those biomes actually are and when you have arrived. It's also quite nice to get confirmation of your destination when traveling to a planet in a shuttle. Granted, if you misclicked and you're heading to the wrong planet, there isn't any stopping, but at least you won't be surprised when you get there. I do, however, continue to hope that Systemera implements an option to completely turn off all in-game tooltips. They were handy when I first started playing Astroneer 4 years ago, but now they are just something that gets in my way of looking at an otherwise beautiful game. I'd rather just turn them off and go about my time doing Astroneer type things without having tooltips constantly trying to hold my hand. Overall, I feel the Awakening update should go a long way to giving long-term players something new to do, as well as reigniting the imagination of some players who may have dropped out of Astroneer. If you haven't already downloaded the update, well, get to it. I highly recommend it as a very good use of your gameplay time. But I'd love to know what you think as well. Head down to the comments and let me know your thoughts on the Awakening update. Did you find it enjoyable? Did the lore answer a lot of your questions? And exactly what does the fox say? Head down to the comments and tell me all about it. And while you're down there, if you enjoyed this video, then please consider hitting the like button. Your comments and likes really do help my video reach more people. And if you are feeling especially awakened today, then maybe even get subscribed with notifications turned on so you don't miss any of my videos, including a complete reboot of my Astroneer Academy series coming this spring. Of course, I feature videos from a variety of other games as well to keep you entertained while you're waiting for new Astroneer Academy videos. I also stream Astroneer from time to time on my Twitch channel, so maybe give me a follow over at twitch.tv/Vainglorious Gaming. And finally, but most importantly, come hang out with us on the Vainglorious community Discord. We have a lot of Astroneer fans there and even dedicated voice and chat channels for the game. And being part of the Vainglorious Discord can even give you access to help shape that upcoming Astroneer Academy reboot. It has been my pleasure to share the details of the Astroneer Awakening update with you, and I really appreciate you for taking the time to watch. So, until next time, I'm Brandon, reminding you to stay vainglorious.